just a couple thoughts, because it was brought up. I don't know if it was last week, today, but it's another things during the week as well. When it comes to the 8th is of the 7, what does that mean? That the 8th is of the 7? Are there 8 kingdoms?
No. Well, I think there's 7 kingdoms, but well, if everybody, if all the kingdoms resurrect, then I guess there is a kingdom. If all the kingdoms resurrect, or at least a representation of them.
I understand it to mean when it says the 8th, because it doesn't say that the 8th is of the 7s or the 7th. It says the 8th is of the 7. So I understand that to mean, because we're looking at God's kingdom and Satan's kingdom. Daniel 2 is God's kingdom, and also Satan's kingdom. And the statue lists out all the kingdoms. So it's all Satan's kingdom. So when it says that the 8th is of the 7, it's just part of Satan's kingdom. It's what it's saying to me.
And Susan says she's specifying that of means expressing the relationship between a part and a whole. Troy says he sees a doubling with the ark and the 8 people that were saved in Noah's history, 8th church. Going back to God's church then, for those that were here last night, and if not, if you watched the Martinique study that Elder Parmenter did he say that there is an 8th church?
No.
What did he say?
The 8th is the first.
So it's of the 7, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. That's not a real good, thorough, certainly not a thorough study on that, but but it's not on either side. It's not and we know you can compare and contrast, just like with what Mary's bringing out with the woman. You can compare and contrast too, that there's in Revelation 17, there's an 8th that is of the 7. So there would be an 8th in God's church that is of the 7. It's not an 8th church, it's one of the 7.
Yeah, in one of the studies, Elder Parmenter mentions about all the kingdoms resurrecting. So there were 4 churches, 4 kingdoms, and the 5th is Europe, 6th is the United States. So right now we are the Medo-Persia, a 2-horn power. So, and Greece is all the world, which is the United Nations, which is the 7th. And then the 8th, even though there isn't that 8th kingdom, it's got to be Rome, right? Rome resurrecting. So I don't know what that looks like.
What we do know is there's a woman that'll ride a beast that is currently dead that's going to be alive. And looking at those successive histories, what we've learned, the beasts equal those governments, kings, governors, kings and rulers, that makes up the beast. But now you have and then you have paganism riding each one of those kingdoms successively, And at the fifth head, she changes her appearance and progresses to the point of murdering God's people. And so there's the blood of the saints. And then you have the sixth head or kingdom that has a protection in place that's to protect God's people. So I think we would ask, what was the purpose of the first glorious land? Anybody? What was the purpose of the first glorious land? The heaven for God's church? Was it to be, oh, haven, okay, haven. Was it to be a light to the world? A light to the other nations? That's what I understood, a light to the Gentiles, right? So if now you have this, because there's two women that's being talked about. I want to say it's Revelation 12, because isn't it Revelation 12 where you also have the two women, or I'm sorry, Revelation 12, you have the woman, the pure church, that escapes, right? Where does she escape to?
Wilderness.
The wilderness. The wilderness, yeah. Clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And then the other wonder. Okay, so she escapes into the wilderness. So you have this period of time where she's under protection, right? But when you say wilderness, somebody said this last week, and I need I need clarity myself. The 1260 is captivity. I think somebody said the 1260 was the wilderness. Does anybody remember that? And I think it's causing a confusion in my mind, because the 1260 is captivity, correct?
Yeah, when you talk about the time. But isn't it referring to the Waldensians that they had to escape to the desolate places,
To flee into the
to
mountains.
escape the persecution?
But I think it refers to as well when they leave the. This is where I might have it wrong, but the 1260 is captivity, but she flees to a place where she's safe. Doesn't that safety have to do with 1798 and the deadly wound of the beast? We always see that as, and it's even in the spirit of prophecy, that deadly wound is the papacy receiving that deadly wound, but it's the beast that actually dies. The woman, she continues on. She just doesn't have the control over the sixth head. And so she doesn't have control over the sixth head, and she's trying to fight to get the control back, which she does when it comes to the seventh head. So is the work of the second glorious land meant to be an example to the world in a place of freedom and equality was supposed to develop and be established, and that's what people were to see? Kind of goes back to something I saw Mary put in the chat just before we went on break. That, let me go back to it so I can refresh my memory here. The world and us, God's people, were meant to see Salome and her dance as she hands the kingdom to the seventh beast. So was the United States supposed to be a light of true equality, watching the progression of equality? to bring in the kingdom of God, but instead the United States fails, the sixth head fails their test, correct? So the United States fails and you go into the period of time with the seventh head and the 10 horns and the 10 crowns. Because those 10 that it's one head made worldwide, one head worldwide, so it's made up of many nations, many kingdoms, but one head made up of 10. We know that 10 is not literal. There are over 200 nations. Is that, if I have that right? Okay. So it's supposed to be a light to the world and fails at its test of progressing all the way to equality. And you go back to what Obama said. Yes, failed with slavery and feminism. Fails with LGBTQ as well. So fails with all of them. Fails with equality overall. And what was I gonna say? Lost my train of thought on that. Okay, so we'll go.
You were talking about Obama.
Obama, thank you. Because does everybody remember Obama's words in the speech that he gave about the Constitution?
Then it was a North Star.
And what else? What was it supposed to do?
It was to progress.
To progress, right? And I think he even said, did he actually say it too? I think he did. Even though slavery was in the Bible, was in the Constitution, I think he says embedded in the Constitution. It was meant to progress. I don't know about that, Susan. I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I remember that from the days of conspiracy theories. That's as far as I can go with that question, but I don't know. But we do know that there are many nations. It's made up of 250 or somewhere in there. I don't know if anybody has the actual number, but we see this global pull of this far right machinery, or however you want to call it. So I don't know what it looks like. We're getting a clearer picture, but you have the far right of this nation and other nations globally, and then you have the feminists, cultural feminism, counterfeit feminism, counterfeit equality. Is that a place for them to run to and escape to? I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that, but I'm going to flip the board. If we touched on the eighth is of the seven. I'm not prepared for anything really any deeper than just understanding that it's not an eighth kingdom. It's not an eighth church. In God's church, there's only seven, and there's only seven kingdoms in Bible prophecy that are laid out. And so the eighth, in both cases, the external and the internal, for the counterfeit, there's seven, but there is an eighth that is of the seven, and in God's church, there's an eighth that is of the seven. If that made sense. I don't know if anybody has anything to add to that. But I think it at least shows, for anybody that has trouble with it, and the reason I say that anybody might have trouble with it is I don't know if anybody remembers this, but it was taught by someone that's no longer in the movement that the statue repeats. Does anybody remember that study? Was around during that time?
I don't remember that.
Okay, it was a while ago, but it was taught by someone who's no longer in the movement, been gone for a long time, that the statue repeats. So saying that if the statue repeats, that you would have a mirror image. And so you would have Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, Greece, Medo-Persia, Babylon. And how many does that add up to?
8.
It would add up to 8, which doesn't go along with this, correct? So anyways. Now let's work on, if we could. I had to clean this up, and I don't have the lines drawn up here very well. And I thought that together we'll work on these. We want to put, well, just, I kind of want to, I'd like to have a better line here, but just not that good at it. I guess if you can see it, it's good enough. You can see it, right? We have here, we know this is the, what line? This one up here. This is having to be interactive with everybody. Participating. Lily says 144,000. Yes. So this is the 144,000. My pen might be going out. Nope. Okay, so we have 144,000, and we have, what other lines do we put up there?
Underneath it,
Yep,
the 3 lines of
Three
3
lines, okay.
groups.
and go ahead, keep going. 3 lines.
3 lines for 3 groups: priests, Levites, Nethinims.
So you have priests, you have Levites, and then you have Nethinims, which I didn't put up there yet, because I didn't have time. But we'll get it up there. I thought we'd start walking through some of these real quick first. And because I wanted to know, if anybody remembers, where does this line begin? Before I drew it
Where-
out.
Where do we find what?
2014.
2014, okay. So I want to make sure that we kind of get this lined up here. Okay, so 2014. So you have their line, and where does this Nephilim line end?
Sunday law?
The church
Okay.
ends at Sunday law, 2 lines for the church,
Close of probation.
close of probation.
Daniel 12:1.
Wait, why are you putting 2014 on the big line? I thought you were talking about the Nethinims. Were you talking about the first line on the Nethinim line?
Yeah, where they begin. And I
Yeah,
just wanted to line it up,
Okay,
is all.
okay.
I just wanted to get it lined up, but I didn't want to put I didn't want to put 2014 up there. I wanted somebody out there, somebody you to answer that. Before I put 2014 up there. So this is the Nethinims. Okay. So we see that the priest line, we know, ends at 2021. The Levites, 2 calls to the church and 1 call to the world, ending at the close of probation. Okay, so I don't know if I did a good job of this, because it's like hard to get them lined up without doing it on the fly. I'm not that good on the fly. So what are our main waymarks for the line of the priest?
1989,
1989,
9/11,
9/11,
2014,
2014. This is where I might want to. I think I want to move it. Just so that it balances out. Which means we gotta move this one just a little bit. Okay, and then what,
2019,
19? And we have 21,
yeah, 21.
so I have to move that one. Hopefully that gets the rest of them all. All placed, I hope. Okay. So give us the Levites.
2001.
2001.
2001?
2014.
Yeah, am I missing something here? No. 2014? Yeah, 2019. What am I missing?
You're not missing any.
I got it. 2019. You have 2021, right? And you have Sunday law.
Right.
Okay. I think it looks good. It's always hard for me to get them lined up the way they need to be all in sync. Okay, so this one's 2014. And you have 2019. Am I missing one? No, got it right. 2019. 2021. You have Sunday law. And close of probation. Okay. Everybody follow the basic of that so far?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so want to make sure Eva and Manuel are here, just to make sure that hopefully this will be helpful for them. Based on what we talked about last night. Okay, so let's go with our agricultural model. I kind of have it up on top partway, so let's lay the agricultural model on each one of these. Priest line,
Yeah, the plowing,
plowing,
early rain,
early rain,
latter rain,
latter rain,
harvest,
and harvest. So you follow the same pattern, plowing, former rain, latter rain, and harvest. And the same pattern here. First would be the plowing, former rain, latter rain, and harvest. This, for me, helped me more than anything else as it really settled in more and more for me. To go to Lamar's question earlier about talking to Adventists or Methonyms. Because when we think about, maybe our friends are there, our family there, or what have you, that when we look at the work that God has done externally and internally using the agricultural model, knowing that we are in this history right here, right before the Sunday law, knowing that when it comes to Adventism, they're in their harvest. And I always think of, we know that it means that what's the purpose of the latter rain? What does the latter rain do?
Ripens the harvest.
It ripens the harvest. So when we say it ripens the fruit. So can the fruit change?
No, it's stuck the way it is.
It's stuck the way it is. All it can do is all it's gonna do is ripen. So it is what it is. And so when you come to the harvest, it is, and I always think of it as when it came to the story of Moses going to Pharaoh, that's always helped me with this as well. And maybe other stories have helped you different than this one does with me, but when Moses goes to Pharaoh, what happens to Pharaoh's heart?
It hardens harder.
It hardens harder. So the more the message comes, it's either going to, you're either going to be wheat for the heavenly garners when you get to the end, or chaff to be burned, right?
That's right.
When you put it in that. So, and I know this brings a lot of heavy sorrow for us to look at it that way. And we're not talking about individuals, though. We are talking about groups, right?
Right, the institution of Adventism.
Yeah, the institution of Adventism, the institution of the ship of the United States, the ship of Adventism. Um, and so when you go down to the line of the Nethinims here, with us being right about here, they're getting their latter rain. So
Question,
what was that?
question, is that the priest line?
Down here?
Yeah.
Down, the bottom line
'Cause
is,
I was,
Nethinim.
yeah, I was looking at Lily, okay, cause I was looking
Bottom
at.
line is the Nethinims. This line here is the priest line. So,
Oh, I'm talking about the, 911, you have 911 on the priest line,
you're kind of muffled and I'm having a hard time.
can you hear me? Oh, shoot. Never mind, okay.
No, I do want you to be able to interact and ask questions, I hope, just because I know that this was questions that you and Manuel had, which I'm hoping that this would be helpful. So if you have questions, ask them, but if anybody can, she's kind of muffled to me and maybe she's not to somebody else. I know I have hearing problems. So if somebody,
No, it's muffled for me as well.
okay, because I want to be able to get their questions as best we can. Do you want to try again, Ava? Looking at Lily's comment, don't we put 2001? Yes, then I changed that. I did change that right here on the free line 2001. Okay. So when we look at the state of the world, and I think we talked about this a while back with oh, let's put some little way marks in. That'll probably help us. And now hopefully Manuel and Ava as well. Let's put the little way marks on the priest line. Who remembers the little way marks this dispensation?
1991 and 1996.
Okay, so you have 91 and then you have 96. And what message do you have here?
Okay, so 1989 is Reform Lines. 91 is Daniel 11:40 to 45, and 96 is Time of the End magazine.
Okay. We're looking at priests. Why do we know? Maybe we won't mix it up yet. So go into this history here, the two little way marks. Susan. Is Susan, are you able to talk or are you there?
I'm sorry, Elaine. Is it 2009, 2012?
Yes. Anybody remember the message that we put there?
Well, the 2009, wasn't that Elder Parmender's 2520 presentations?
And then what was
And
here?
then that led to 2012's prediction,
Which was what?
the Sunday law.
More specifically?
Do you mean like the 126?
No, but there's
Time setting.
huh? One key word,
Time.
time.
Time
Oh,
setting.
time.
You said it all.
Thank you.
Yeah, you said it all. Just want to get the down to the right word. So the 2520 led to a message of time. Was there a message of time back here?
Yes,
Why?
because Elder Jeff said the Sunday law is coming.
Is coming. So we know we're in a reform line and it's already, whether it's seen or not, it's already established it's a message of time. But it's not really seen that way or accepted that way in its clarity, even though it's included in the Time of the End magazine. but you're at the time of the end. It's called the time of the end. It's called the time of the end. But this led distinctly to what? Predicting a waymark, right?
Yeah, Susan said the prediction of the Sunday law.
Right. Thank you. Yes, Susan's right. So it led directly to, so it's a very specific, now it's not this, if you had any thoughts that it was vagary here, it's not vague here. So what was the fight then? What was the fight with the spirit of prophecy in the Bible?
No more time versus time.
Right. Because both say there's, you're not gonna know the time. Ellen White says there's no more time. So now you have specific time. Okay, so what do we see here? The two little waymarks. 2016 and 2018. And what was the message?
X27.
X 27? Yeah, is that real specific? Somebody. Then we have a message of equality back here. King of the North and King of the South, which would be Acts 27. Part of it. Is that right? I need my own memory jarred too.
What about feminism?
Feminism. Feminism comes up here. But before feminism. Because yes, Acts 27 opened up, but isn't it message of equality? Didn't the message of the understanding of the King of the North and the King of the South open up? And lead to the message of equality, is that correct? I know we have some that are more scholarly than me here. They have better memory than me.
Isn't 2018 the King of the North and King of the South?
That was Penny.
Maybe I'm mistaken.
I thought it was 2016. Who, somebody else just said something.
Yeah, I think you're correct, Elaine. You were talking about the Pyrrhic Wars,
So
and
King of the North and King of the South here?
yes, in 2016, and we were making that connection with Pyrrhus being Putin back then.
Which we didn't get until here.
We didn't get that, yeah, right, but the
We did
seeds were
get-
back then.
Yeah, we did because it was I don't know the names, but it's drawing a blank on me again right now. The couple that opened up Daniel 11.
Oh, the Psalms 23 couple.
Yes, that we saw where the King of the South, and that wasn't, this is more.
Chadwick too and Kimberly.
Yes, thank you, Chow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that started the process, but then we've got, this is when Elder Tess is actually studying as well in Acts 27 and seeing the King of the North and King of the South. I mean, this just told us that, if I remember right, the King of the South wasn't dead. I think is what that told us, and then going forward. So then you have the midnight cry. What do we mark at the midnight cry? Is that where you mark equality? Equality on 18. That's what manual says. Is that what it says?
Equality.
Yeah, equality. Okay. And you also had the two streams of information, right? Somebody, I think, put two streams of information. Okay, so our two little waymarks here. I also wanted to point out this, I started to say this, but I wanted to fill the line in first. When it came to 2016, where were we at when it came to the election cycle? What was the election like?
Well, no, weren't we Republican back then?
Not us, but,
You're
what
not
was
us.
the external, what was the elections, if we were looking at it prophetically, describe briefly the 2016 election. We had a choice, right?
Between Hillary and Trump,
Between Hillary and Trump. Okay, what did Trump represent?
uh, patriarchy,
Patriarchy. There's like a list of adjectives you can put in there. Patriarchy versus
equality.
equality. So here we had this pivotal election when it came to, if you're looking at it, because this is about the line of the 144,000, and these are the fractals of it, you're looking at what is the world seeing, what is the Adventist church seeing, what are the priests seeing. We did see that we were on the wrong course, as Lamar brought up, we were on the wrong course, but the world was meant to see that you had a choice between a president that would, female president, that understood equality, that would have put in place policies, laws, et cetera, that would support and encourage and direct the ship on the course of equality. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Or you had the choice of Trump. Elder Tess described him as the face of the Sunday law. Understanding now what the Sunday law is with inequality, Trump being the face of that, what does he want to do when he's elected? What's he promising to do when he's elected?
You mean like close the
Close the
borders?
borders. He's racist, right?
Yeah.
What else? What about that Access Hollywood tape?
Yeah, sexist.
You have sexism there as well, right?
Yes.
You have it all. I was thinking during the break about the discussion that we were having. I can remember this conversation with myself. Off topic real quick, when it comes to, we talked about this, I think, in our Wednesday studies. When it comes to the war, between Israel and Hamas right now, we've been looking at, what have we been looking at with, in particular, with the war between Israel and Hamas that the world overlooked?
The rape situation with the women
The raping of the women.
from Hamas, the terrorists.
Rape as a weapon of war.
Weapon of war.
It's a weapon of war. And so for the first 2 months of that war, what happened when it came to the rapes?
Nothing was said.
Silence. Sorry.
So I was thinking about that with the discussion, and particularly with like Lamar's question when it came to the women. It said Samaritan woman. It didn't have to say Samaritan woman. It could have just said a Samaritan, but it didn't say Samaritan. It said a Samaritan woman. Could have just said a Canaanite, but it didn't. It specified a Canaanite woman. So in both cases, both are there. But what happens to our minds? How does our mind read that? Take yourself back to your Adventist thinking, and you see this Samaritan woman and Jesus is talking to her. What does your mind focus on?
A race.
The race. So when you look at the Israel-Hamas war, in other words, you focus on the race, and the woman is what?
Erased. Invisible.
Erased. Secondary, at the very least, secondary, erased.
The patriarchy has done so well that it is so ingrained in the human mind to automatically discount women in all aspects. You know, it just, and it's just, we don't even think about it unless someone points it out.
So
I think that's the fast brain.
yeah. So while Jesus is making 2 points, we're only getting one.
Right.
And when it comes to Israel and Hamas war, you got this war. And while you have the UN and the division of the UN that is specifically UN Women, specifically for violence against, when it comes to standing up for violence against women, they were silent for 2 months. Because my feeble mind says war is priority. Now we have war. So, okay, women are down here, you're secondary. We'll deal with you later, maybe, but we're not going to deal with you right now. War is our focus.
And I guarantee you, if there were a bunch of men that were raped, it would be front news. It would be mainstream front news.
What
But
a weapon of war that they used when they're raping men, right?
Right. And I guarantee you, if men could get pregnant, abortion would not even be a thing. I mean, there wouldn't even be an issue.
That's fun.
Yeah, I didn't read an entire article, but this morning I was looking at this one article. It was actually a Fox News article. And we can read those, we just have to read them carefully. But it was pointing out about how many I have struggled with keeping track of. I think I'm a boomer, but when it comes to Gen Z and all that, which ones are which, but today's generation, they're not wanting to have children. Anybody's seen that's kind of common, not wanting children, and then also having less children. In my mind, I connected it with the whole abortion issue and how women have to do their duty, and your only purpose here is to make babies, and you're not making enough babies. And if you're not making babies, then you're going to end society. We can't have you end society. You have to make your babies.
Oh, that is a very deep insight, Elaine. So to force them to have babies, they put the abortion thing in there. Is that what you're saying?
Anti-abortion?
Anti-abortion, right?
Just a thought that went through my head with it.
That's interesting.
And nowadays, with so many states with laws against abortion, getting pregnant can be a death sentence for the woman. It's very dangerous.
It is.
Having babies is just not getting pregnant, having a baby. I mean, there's a lot the
There's
body
risk.
goes through. And there's a big risk that you could die, especially for people of color.
And just that evidence that we're hearing more, that's marginalized too.
Exactly.
Who cares? Women are so, the statistics are showing that there actually is a lot of women that die during childbirth.
Right.
And nobody even cares that women are dying during childbirth. Like nobody like it's a given. I guess if you get pregnant, you have a risk of dying. Now we're seeing it because there's more information out there because of the abortion issue. But yeah, people don't, when it comes to women's issues, nobody cares.
Exactly.
So that was just kind of a side point to going back to this decision, this choice that the world had, or at least the United States, but the United States is kind of like the theater to the world. I don't know if that's right to say, but sets the pace for the world. And you had this choice between a woman who stands for equality, who would have put policies in place for women's rights. And we've traced women's rights back. We've looked at Ronald Reagan and how he stood when it came to women, and he ripped apart his administration of anybody that was radical, because any radical was probably going to be biased in putting in helping set up policies in place. And so you had to have people like Phyllis Schlafly instead, a little more subdued to not put those radical principles in place. So you have this choice here between Donald Trump, the face of the Sunday law, and you had it on full display. You had, prior to the election, his Access Hollywood tape. He's on tape saying horrific things about women, towards women, and about women, and you had that choice. But it seemed that the more crude he got, the more his supporters loved him. What was happening to their hearts?
Getting harder.
They were getting harder.
Yes.
That's why I can't understand how Christians, if you call yourself a Christian, can back a man like that. Because God doesn't need a man like that. There's no way God would have chose a man like that. He doesn't need that.
But a lot of Christians, go ahead, sorry.
And they feel that he's been chosen by God. I don't even know what Christianity they're looking at. It's kind of comical, really.
They read literally. And an article that I read yesterday mentioned specifically that they believe that he has a mandate. And I'm trying to remember how it said it.
Right.
But a mandate to defeat his enemies.
Yep.
And mandate by God to defeat his enemies.
Yeah. There's a prophecy. It's just, deception, right, Gloria? I mean, if you've ever, we all know what it's like to be deceived because we were all caught up in the conspiracy theories and Walter White. But this deception is on a whole different level. And you can't see what plainly.
And they can't. And that was the only reason that was one reason I wanted to bring up the conversation that we had previously with and it wasn't Lamar, it's not at all to criticize at all, because we all still want to try to talk to people and help people. We all do. But to me, I had to really process what these lines tell us. And it doesn't mean that we can't work within our sphere of influence, but we can't change hearts, and they're not getting what they're getting from us anyways. Because when you look at this line here, the Nephilims, what is their latter rain? What is it? Are we out there talking to them now? So all could have seen. That's what I've finally come to over the course of these few years, come to see, all could have seen. Because if I came in here straight from the world, knowing the only thing I knew about religion, I started reading back in here. The only thing I knew about religion was that everybody believed something different. And something in my mind said, that can't be right. And that was why I picked up a Bible and wanted to read. But by the time you get to here, or even 2014, because that's a pivotal, important waymark. When if you remember what Elder Tess, when she laid out all the things that happened in 2014, but the three main things was the purging of the moderates, right? The stacking of the courts, and then Hobby Lobby. That was the opening of the plowing for the Nephilims. And they were choosing sides. But do they not all have access to the same, do we not all have access to the same information?
Yes, we do.
So don't we all have access to an ability, so to speak, or freedom to read both sides of a situation and come to a decent conclusion?
Yes.
We do, but how many people do that?
They don't.
People that do that.
And the only thing I can come up with is they like to hate. And he represents hate. And they liked it. So when you go back to the Jimmy Savile story, who was it that allowed him to continue with what he was doing?
The government.
Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, society, Margaret Thatcher, but society. It was the whole society.
Yeah, the people wanted it.
The whole society are asking for a king. Not all, there's people that are not asking for a king. But enough to keep him on the throne. And if it's not enough, then he cheats. We've seen that with the Republican Party. If it's not enough, then we cheat to keep him on the throne. So we see the cries, and you get to what, 2020, when you had the January 6th, 2020, we see now the fruit, right? Isn't that kind of some fruit being exposed? Or a rehearsal of the fruit to be exposed? So that's why for me, it helped me to look at this, at least not to have carry in my mind that we're gonna go out and do this great work, whatever it looks like, because the work has already been done. God did the work. And now all that's left is to ripen the fruit. So if this is the ripening of the fruit of the Nephilims of the world, and this is their harvest, who's ripening in this latter rain?
So that's the 144,000, right?
That's all that's left, right?
That's all that's left.
And that's their line. So if I understand it, this whole line was meant to gather anyone that would come. And it's just, you see it broken down in sections or fractals, but it's to gather anybody that will come. Because isn't it the time of the Gentiles? Aren't we all Gentiles? Okay, so then you have, what are these two little waymarks here? The two little waymarks there, if anybody remembers.
2020 and 2021.
Correct. And this one was, what marked that date? I think it was May 5th.
May. Are you talking about 2020?
The date, I think, was May 25th, but
Yeah,
what,
May 25th. Yes.
but what happened?
Oh, the death of George Floyd.
Yeah.
Apis bull. Oh, sorry.
In 2021?
It was the Taliban overtaking. Are you talking about external or internal?
Well, for us, what did we see?
Oh, so internal is the Apis bull, someone mentioned for 2020. And then 2021 is same-sex marriage.
Is that right? I'm drawing a blank my own self here too. So Apis bull, that was Donna that said that?
I thought the Opus Bull was 2021.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, okay.
Apis bull,
I think
Apis bull is
bull
Apis
2020.
bull was 2020.
It's
May of
2020
2020.
and 2021 was the homosexuality, wasn't
Yes,
it?
same-sex marriage.
Okay.
Boy, did you get all those voices all in a chorus all at once?
Well, I know I need my own memory chart. I already said that. Okay, so when we go back, that takes care of the line of the priests, right? So when we look at up here for the 144,000, what was 2019?
Don't you still have 2021 for radical feminism?
That's where I'm headed for right here, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm just doing the middle waymarks, but yeah, you're right, because then you have a test, and the test would be radical feminism. That's where I was headed. So what's 2019 on this big line?
It's feminism.
Feminism. And Penny said it.
Yeah, radical feminism.
Do we still have David and Manuel? Just want to make sure that if you have any questions, go ahead and speak and let us know. Are you following along okay, Ava? I hope so. We're not hearing from them right now. Okay. We're not gonna do little waymarks here, but we do know that there were little waymarks on each of these. But I hope that we at least made the point, and it it helps us to understand when it comes to, the work that we, and I don't know I don't know entirely what it looks like. To the best that I understand it, we look at, work within our own sphere of influence, our family members, our friends, our neighbors, or what have you, but is this they're great going out? Because if you do wind up talking to somebody, like for instance with, and I don't know if this is the case, correct me if I'm wrong, Lamar, but I know that back in my days at the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I came to a place where I knew they don't want to hear it. I know it broke my heart. All it was a fight. And I wasn't gonna fight with them. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's all it is. And I just say, you know, we're not going to discuss it anymore.
Yeah. Because you can't, if the fruit is already what it is, and the best that we can do is be a true example. And but I don't know, I mean, because we also know, how do we speak up when it comes to, you know, when we've talked about that with the case where I had that situation where that man called me dear and I didn't say anything. And it was in my mind, what's the point? But at the time, you know, looking back, it's like, maybe I should have at least said, hey, if you don't mind, my name's Elaine. And so things like that, I don't know entirely what it's going to look like my own self. But we can see though, at least see from the lines that they're getting their latter rain here. And their latter rain comes from all that is going on in the world. To be able to see and decide whether or not, you know, there's people that are sympathetic to women's rights. And there's people that are plainly not at all. Yeah, they'll refuse to hear it. I think we talked about that too. What is that called? Not to cast your pearls among the swine. Is that like a rude way to say it, Anna? Sorry. But I think that's the phrase. But it all it does is sparks a fight. And what we can do is live it and not tolerate sexism towards us or towards anyone.
So do you think the doors will ever have the authority to have the doors open? Because right now, people just fall in. Is that how you understand it?
People just what?
They just fall into salvation, or they don't even fall into salvation. Like, are the doors closed still, right?
Well, the way I understand it is we can close our own probation.
True.
Is that right?
But as the movement, we haven't opened the doors.
Haven't
Right.
opened the doors? I think the doors have been open all along, haven't they?
To me, like we can do public evangelism.
No, I don't think so. That's not my understanding anyways, but
Right.
The movement, I don't see the movement going out and doing public evangelism.
Yeah, they're not. So are we part of the movement able to do that?
That's not my.
As you
The
understand it?
movement's not doing public evangelism and I'm an individual in the movement, then would I be going with the movement or against the movement if I went?
Exactly. 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 So then us just doing this are just mock trials with the individuals as we're speaking. It's not like a life and death impetus behind our words, so to speak.
To people,
If we don't how do you look? How do you see that?
you mean to people when you're talking to people?
Yeah, when I'm talking to people, I don't talk to them like with the urgency, like it's a life and death, even though it is, because I don't feel like I have been given the authority to do public evangelism yet. So it's like I'm not bringing people to that decision point. But it's sad to see them just denying the little pearls, like you were saying. They just trample on the little pearls you give. It's sad to see that, but it's still like I comfort myself in hope, like because we don't have the doors open or closed, you still have a chance, person. But you're wearing out your chances very quickly. That's how I'm operating. I don't
I was
know.
thinking about what Donna said earlier about tell them a story. And your job's not to convince them. Our job is not to convince them. It's the work of the Holy Spirit to convince them if all this evidence that is here that we have seen that has taken place, and if you tell them a story, you leave, walk away, and it's up to them if they want to hear what that story means.
Also, too, we really need to make sure that we, ourselves individually, are right with equality and all, and the great test, because that's why we're getting all this. So we really need to, as we get closer, to really make sure that we're on board individually. I mean, it's good to talk to people, yes. But I think I remember Elder Parmenter saying that this is really for us.
The work nearest you
Right,
is us.
right.
And so to be, with our focus being on the work of others, then we're neglecting the work that is nearest to us. That's what I get out of what was said, that not to neglect the work that is nearest us. And then what Mary put in there, that we speak to the hearts already open for the ripening. Yeah, we have people that we have those appointments, those divine appointments we call them, that someone is in our path that is like the Samaritan woman, that is open to hearing. But to go, if we were to go straight up knowing somebody is a Trump supporter, firm Trump supporter, what are we going to do for them? They like, I have family members, we've all talked about this, I think a lot of us do. They like it. The more they hate, the more they love him. And to say that he has a mandate, they believe as a Christian, as Christians, they believe he has a mandate to defeat the left, to defeat his enemies, and his enemies are on the left. And this is a mandate by God, and that's how the article read it. They believe that, and it comes from that movie, That Man That Had a Vision. Maybe somebody remembers that. I don't remember what year that was. So we can't do anything for them as much as we'd want to, but if I look at how the line led me, and also when you think about, we've talked about this too, about how this message, a way to, I hope I say this right, this message is like, when you look at our journey from Adventism to where we're at today, and you look at the progress that we made from 2018 to where we are, it can be described as a tree where we are way out on a limb. Because if you didn't, I think we all question, well, how do we talk to Adventists? When it comes to, they don't want to hear the 25-20, right? We go and try and talk about it. They didn't want to hear it, but we did. We heard it, we accepted it, and we kept going. Well, each truth that they reject hardens their heart, or put yourself in the world. Each truth, each explosion of this scene on full display, patriarchy on full display, sexism, inequality on full display, each step of rejection of it is another hardening of the heart. So by the time you get to here, you're just ripening what's already there. So if there are people in our sphere of influence that come along that have tender hearts, soft to hear, we could definitely talk to them.
I want to share this experience that I had, if I can. This was after January 6th, and in our cul-de-sac we have a bunch of Trump loving evangelicals, and they get together every week to do their Bible study. And so Mary, she's the one that leads the Bible study, comes and knocks on my door, and she says, "I hear you're a Christian." And I said, "Oh, yes, I am." She goes, "Well, why don't you come and join us?" And I go, "Well, but I'm a Seventh-day Adventist." And she went, "Oh, that's okay. You can come anyway." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's fine. So I went and we were talking. And of course, the issue of the, January 6th comes up. And so I said, how do you guys feel about that? And everybody was talking, and I said, well, in Jesus' day, these exact same players that are here on right now that you're looking at were back in his day too, but they just had different names. And they said they did. And I go, yeah. I said, because there were these people called the Zealots, and they were Jews. And, they were very nationalistic and patriotic, but they were also, religious. And I said, and they wanted to overtake the government. I said, do you remember that? And remember Barabbas, and he was like the leader, and he came to Jesus and he wanted Jesus on his side. I said, do you remember that story? and then I said, well, those people on the Capitol that you were looking at, they're the zealots of today. And if we can remember, what did Jesus say about that? And I said, and there's only two choices. When Jesus was, when the people had to choose who to crucify, they only had two choices. It was either Barabbas or Christ. And who did the crowd choose? After that, I mean, there was so much talking. I honestly, there was so much talking that I literally had to get up, leave the table, and squeak out of the door. And I couldn't say a thing because the people got so upset. And I squeezed out of the door and I got out of there in time. And then I went home and I was like, oh gosh, I was kind of traumatized. And then my next door neighbor, who's a Mormon, and she was there too, she came to the door and knocked on my door. And she goes, Donna, that was horrible. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they treated you like that. And I said, well, I don't think they want me back there. She goes, and I'm not going either. I'm not going back there. So these stories, we can make our own application. We can talk to people, give them a story. They can let them think of it whatever they want. And then you just squeeze out of there as fast as you can. And today I still see Mary and I say, we wave and we say hi, but I never ever was invited back to that Bible study. And I wasn't rude and I just had to say the truth amongst all these evangelicals that were on the wrong side. But it hasn't ruined our relationship. We're still friends. And they just know where I stand now. So anyway, I just thought I wanted.
They make their choice and you make your
They
choice.
made their choice. Yeah, they chose Barabbas.
And they figured out that's what you were saying too.
That's exactly. They knew what I was saying. They
Yeah.
chose Barabbas, and
It's
Jesus.
like with Jesus, the same thing. The Pharisees understood when he was accusing them,
Yes.
and they didn't like it. So, yeah.
And it's so interesting you didn't go in there with the Sabbath Sunday issue.
No, I
You
didn't.
you went in there with the message for the hour.
There's no way I would have gotten nowhere with that. But I did. You're right. And I was debating in my heart, should I bring it up? Should I bring it up? Oh my goodness, I don't know what, because I knew it was going to cause problems. But I thought it was good. It's good to sometimes, cause people to think and cause a little contention in their hearts. I think that's good contention.
Never say they never heard or knew.
They can never say they never knew or they never saw it.
Yeah.
Never say that, because then when they go to God before the great white throne judgment, God's gonna go, oh yeah, but remember my I sent Donna there and she kind of explained to you a little. That's how I see it.
Yeah, one day it'll come back to them and they'll see what they rejected.
Yeah, by choosing Barabbas, you reject Christ and you crucify him.
So where else should we go here? Thank you. That was a really good experience to share. Thank you. Where else can we go here to help? I wish we could hear from Ava or Manuel. I don't see her there at all now. Maybe they had trouble with their internet. Is Manuel there?
Yeah, I see manual.
Emmanuel, but not Ava, okay. I'm just hoping that it helped. But, that's pretty much, again, all I have. This I just left here from what we've worked on before. Well, I did have one other point that I wanted to make, going back to the previous study, and it'll tie in somewhat with this. Who are the angels? All right, let's see, the first, second, and third angels, who are they? I think
It
at
depends
least,
on the story.
the story, okay. I think at least when we were going through Matthew 13, what did we see in that study? Who is the third angel?
They the reapers?
No.
No,
I think we came,
What
I think
reapers
we
do, what
came,
do reapers do?
they reap the harvest.
They reap the harvest. So the reapers do a work here, right? When does the message of the third angel close?
those are probation.
At the close of probation. So the third angel is not doing work here, the reapers are. Although the Bible calls the reapers in that chapter angels. Right?
Yes.
But not the three. So the third angel's message closes here. So who are the third angel? And how? Third angel comes in how many parts?
2 parts.
2 parts. What are they? And when are they?
Early rain, latter rain.
Early rain. So if you're looking at the big line, then it has to be, this is all former rain, right?
Yes. I
Early
saw
rain.
former rain, and then from Sunday law to close probation, the latter rain.
A lot of you say early, I'll put early because I tend to write former. Okay, so you have the third angel. Maybe my pen just wants to give up. Give me 1 second. I don't know if I have another one like that, but I think I do. If this works better. It's one of those round tips, so I don't know how well that works either, so. Okay, so you have the third angel. Angel that goes all the way to where? Third angel closes at close of probation, right? And this one's not gonna work any better. Third angel under the early rain, and then the third angel here ends under the latter rain. So 2 parts, I think Lamar said, early rain and latter rain. So who are the third angel?
I believe we came to the conclusion that it was 144,000. Us,
Yeah, this movement.
movement.
So if the movement is the third angel, and we understand, I hope I don't mix things up incorrectly. There's 7 churches, right? And doesn't each church, what does each church have?
An angel,
Which is what?
a messenger.
A messenger, okay. So I think there's a definite distinction, maybe I have it incorrect, between us and Elder Tess.
Right, just the story or perspective you take. Yeah.
But the movement being the third angel, but that church has a messenger. So if the movement is the third angel, who's the first and second? You do have a messenger, and I don't know if this is right, so somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Thinking back where our study began with, oh, I have the board turned over or erased, no turned over. Going back to early writings, you have the chapter on William Miller, the chapter on the first angel, the second angel, and then Advent history illustrated. Is that what Advent what? Advent Movement Illustrated, and then another
Advent
illustration, right?
Illustrated.
So in Advent Movement Illustrated, we read in that first paragraph. Does anybody remember what we read in that first paragraph? What it said? The first angel, or we came to understand it is the first angel, but it refers to that angel as what?
As the second angel there, right?
No, the
But
first.
we thought it was, right?
So it refers to, how does it call the angel? Mighty, okay.
Mighty,
Mighty angel. It's the first angel. We came to see that and understand that it's the first angel, that it's a mighty angel. And we saw that it comes with a warning, but there's something else that it said. I don't remember if it's in that passage or if I'm thinking of Revelation 14.
glorious
It's like,
light.
God,
Glorious light. It lightens the earth, right?
Yes, the first angel.
So it lightens the earth with its glory. What's the glory of that angel? What is glory?
Righteousness.
Righteousness? Yes. Righteousness is, yes, that's correct. I was looking for something different, but,
Is that where it says the everlasting gospel? In that study on the third angels?
we would look at righteousness, but I was thinking about what is our test? What do we want written on our heart?
Equality.
Equality, right? So this message lightens the earth with God's glory, and God chooses human beings to give it. Now, of course, we weren't even back here. But the message is going to lighten the earth with God's glory, meaning that there are people that have equality written on their heart, walking in righteousness, giving glory to God, right?
amen.
So who are those angels then? Doesn't it have to be the movement? All the way through? I don't know if I think I'm right about that, but it would stand to be corrected, because we know we have, Jeff, Elder Parmenter, and Elder Tess. We know that. But don't we take from what the messenger comes with and take it?
So does this lead into you have no need of someone else to teach you? You should know for yourself.
That wasn't where I'm going, but yeah, that's where we're supposed to get to, where we should all know.
We should all know.
We should all know. We should not have need of a teacher. We should all know. That's not where I was headed, but yeah, that's a point in there as well. Because we definitely had to learn along this way.
Right.
We definitely had to learn along this way, but there is a place where, why do we still need teachers? Why do we still need milk? Because we should all know God. And that's what this history was giving us, wasn't it? This history was giving us that we would know God. I don't know if I have that right, but because you've got the midnight cry comes in, the message of equality, 2 streams of information, and all of that. And so what did we find out in 2019? Here we all sitting as conservatives and we're having to go through this switch, but Elder Parmenter corrected us on that. We are conservative Christians, right? We're still winning. But when it comes, I don't want to say this wrong, but definitely when it came to our politics, certainly not conservative, but in the context of people wanting to go liberal and experience their Christianity in a liberal reform type movement, no, that's not who we are. As Christians, we're still, should always have remained conservative in that area. But when it comes to our politics and understanding, So I may have explained that wrong, but if anybody wants to add to it, but, so I hope that this was helpful for, and I don't, we can see that Manuel is still logged on. And they're probably together and hopefully they were able to, there's Manuel, I believe the angels get the messages directly from God. I don't think that Revelation teaches that. We can go to that verse if somebody wants to read Revelation. I think it's the very first verse, chapter 1, if somebody wants to read that. The process in which it goes. Does somebody have that open?
What do you have? Revelation 13:1?
12, I mean, sorry, chapter 1. If I didn't say it, chapter 1.
Verse.
I think it's verse 1. Yeah, I think
unto
it's verse
death.
1. And there's other places where you get this. Maybe somebody else's mind will be triggered, but the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. So there's a process, and we know that God always works through humanity. But there is a process to which he goes. Yes, the message comes, but I don't believe that every one of us gets our message directly from God. I think that's the distinction for the prophet. And that and it's up to us to accept or reject. And then we learn through the lines.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I was kind of confused regarding the message that has been given to Elder Tess and Parminder. I even though they don't say, I think the prophets have never said, I'm a prophet, listen to me. I'm the messenger from God. I talk to God. You guys have to listen to me. I never seen that in the Bible. And even Ellen G. White, she never. And I remember when one elder Parminder said, he said he didn't say he wasn't the messenger. I mean, the second angel. And then he said, I don't know if he said that he wasn't the messenger. I haven't said that I'm a messenger, that he's a messenger. I think that what we need to realize is that none of us will really be in the movement if we didn't have people telling us God's message. And I know that they were all getting prepared themselves because God picked some already ready to receive God's message and give it to his people. For instance, what if Elder Parminder, which I honestly thought about this a few days ago, what if he would take a sabbatical now? All of us already have all these materials, you know? And thank God it's still available, but we really need to know that because we have to spread this message. But I just want to make sure that I'm not understanding that we're equal to them in that sense.
No, and I hope.
And I remember that he even told us in one of the presentations that all those reform lines of the discoveries, like the fractals and the different ones, he was saying, like, why do we not put all those people's names that they found that information about that light? And it's just giving credit to the people that actually participated in finding all those, discoveries. And he mentioned that. So I'm saying that we have to recognize people. We're not going to worship them, of course, like we understand that, but we have to acknowledge them because I think sometimes we can run into the danger of Like when Moses was the leader, what happened with his cousins? I forgot their names. They said, we are all holy. And it was not true. So Moses was the leader. They just didn't agree with what he was saying. And then remember the time when God was so mad at God's children, his children, the Israelites, and and God said, "Let me just destroy them. They're just like no good. Just forget about these rebellious people." And Moses, what? He was Jesus. He was like, "No, you're not going to destroy them. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to be like the sacrifice." So he was fighting for them to protect. So I do not believe that that they have the exact place as we do, because they have to confront it. To me, it's like they're Moses, they're Elijah, they're all these characters that we have in the Old Testament that are also tempted, but they also have to face the rebellion of us, things that we're not understanding, we're not updating ourselves. Even in the last presentation that I went to, when he was here, he talked about relationships, but he didn't, go deep into it. But for me, I was like, he's saying,
You're starting to cut out. You're cutting out now. It was good there for quite a bit, and then you cut it out at the end. If I understood, and help me if I understood some of these things correctly, hopefully I wasn't coming across as we are the prophet, we are not. Hopefully, I don't think I said that, but if anybody got that, I want to clarify that. That there is the process that God works, and there is a human instrument that God chooses, and it's up to the people to believe or not. So we're here because we believe the instrument, the person, the human that God has chosen. And yes, there are other people that within the movement that actually help to work out the various details. And I did have up here, but I erased it. This was the board that we had where we were talking about his presentations, I think in California, where he said that, yes, develop, thank you, because I was just going to go there, that he distinguished the difference between himself and the first and the third, that the first and the third define doctrine, and that the second develops doctrine. But we can all participate in it. We all participate in it. So when it says that the earth is lightened with God's glory, and when you get into the loud cry, what does that mean to you? When the earth is lightened with God's glory, what does that mean to us? Anybody?
To me, it means there was a lot of development going on.
But what's it lightened? It's lightened with God's glory. How? How is it lightened with God's glory? Equality. Sarah said equality. So it's people that are living equality, true equality, that have equality written on their heart. God's character, as Susie said, God's character is being revealed. And so you compare that to the hatred and the direction that globally the earth is going. You have those that will reflect God's character, and then you have those that are so filled with hate and persecution and racism, sexism, all of it, and enjoying it. he takes me back to the days of, and I know I shared this when it came to alcoholism with my ex-husband, that I didn't initially think that alcoholism was a black and white issue. This is many, many years ago. But as I got to see firsthand the progression of an alcoholic, it became very black and white. So this line, people don't see the muddledness of it until it gets to where you have black and white purely visible, where God's character is revealed.
Elaine, how do you see that light? Do you see that light as a little flicker compared to the darkness in the world? Do you see it as an overwhelming light that overpowers the darkness, or is it even between the darkness? How do you see that light? The magnitude of that light?
I don't know if we're looking at what the lines teach us, there's not a lot of people will see it. So I don't know. I don't know. Because I mean, we might think, as in our old thinking, think that that's going to be this glorious light that's exploding light on the whole world, and the light's already been developing to show the world, and they're not seeing it. The glory will not be glorious in their eyes. Yeah. So yes, and it's not about the numbers. We know that when we understood that God didn't design the ark to carry a whole lot of people. So, well, anyways, I hope that this was helpful for, I think helpful for all of us, but especially for Manuel and Ava working on wanting to better understand the lines. Because I know that with all the challenges that you face, that made it very difficult to probably keep up with everything at the time. So, and yet you're still here. Praise God. So if we could have somebody, Logina, would you like to close us in prayer?
It's a little bit loud here. I'll give it a try.
Oh, okay.
Let's bow our heads. Our dear God, what special time we have when we can gather. We can freely discuss. We can tease out information, and we can ponder upon it, Lord. You give us all the knowledge that we seek. And we pray that as we study, as we question, as we search, just as you've given Mary that beautiful insight that she shared, Lord, that we too can gain more knowledge and pearls. And Lord, the knowledge that you allow us to have, it is for us. You want us, Lord, to experience the beauty of equality, the love that you have for each and every one of us. And we'll get in situations, Lord, we know that things may not go our way or the way that we may envision it to be. But as Donna has shared, we can do it in a loving way that when you allow us to be in a situation, that the words will flow that you would want us to share and to witness. And when the words are not received, for whatever reason, Lord, it is not us, Lord, it is you that unfortunately they are seeking to not heed. And as this time of season, Lord, as families and friends gather, may we show kindness to one another, the love that you share for each and every one of us. And as we travel to and fro, keep us all safe, and gather us once again for a time of sharing and rejoicing. I want to especially pray for my cousin, who I think I shared, maybe less than a month ago, that her husband suffered a brainstem stroke, and so he did pass away, and his funeral was yesterday. I ask that you be with the family members, especially. Amen. Happy
Amen.
Sabbath, everyone.
Sorry to hear that, Lojina. Sorry.
Thank you.
Amen. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss too.
Difficult time of year too. It's always difficult.
Get in the camera, get yourself centered. The volume is on.
Well, I thank you for everybody's participation, and I think there was a lot of good points brought out by all of us working together. I think Logina pointed that out. It's good that we can work together to come to right understandings. So it's a good Sabbath, and I thank you all for participating. God bless you. And happy Sabbath.
Amen. Thank you, Elaine and everyone. Have a good Sabbath.
Have a good Sabbath and Merry Christmas to everybody. Have a great holiday. We don't get to see you.
You do the
Happy
same.
Sabbath. And happy Christmas to everybody. And I hope everybody is well. And if you're not, I hope you get well soon. So
yeah.
I heard Sarah's younger one. Goodbye.
What to say bye?
Bye. Yeah. Bye.
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 God bless you all.
God bless.
See you Wednesday.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.